Hello, folks. Welcome back to Sound Design for Relaxation, Meditation, and Sleep. This is your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore, and basically in this episode, we are going to be looking at how I apply my Synth ASMR techniques, which I call Synth ASMR Prickles, basically like acupuncture for the mind. If you are new to this series is a companion series with my sound experiments for relaxation, meditation, and sleep, which I think I will now begin to abbreviate to RMS. So there's the sound experiments, and there's this series, the sound design, where I give you like an overview of how I'm doing things behind the scenes so that my listeners can listen to things and comment on basically how the experiences go for them. Providing me feedback helps me make the different experiences better. Or since some experiences some techniques may work better for some people than others, there is no perfect technique, but it allows me to do a little bit of customization and try some things and see how they go, see how effective they are. If some things are effective for a lot of people, great. I keep using them. If there are things that are not effective for a lot of people, then I wouldn't keep using them. That hasn't happened yet, but basically, this is how we can communicate with one another. And this is also where some of the sound designers out there can also see how I make some of my sounds. So you can incorporate it in some of your work, and maybe you can share some advice with me. So in any case, as is customary in this series, I am going to give the shout outs to some of the supporters of the series who are helping in the comment section. Your feedback and comments really do help the series as far as getting it out to more people. The YouTube algorithm likes that, the comments and stuff, and it gets it out to more people so they can get more feedback so that we can all share in this development together. Thank you very much once again, Amelia Bodelia. You're great. You brought the black screen, and basically once you go black screen, you don't go back. So anyway, Nameless One, thank you for your steady support. Alex Petty from Alex Petty Music, fellow artist. There will be a tag in the description to check out Alex Petty Music. Great singer, guitarist, and also proponent of 256 hertz middle C. And he has done research on that, and I'm providing a link to that research as well. Also, thank you once again, Mike Gorley, for being there. Mike surprised me at the end of last week. I checked out his channel. Beautiful stuff for a Native American flute. The dutar, which is a Persian string instrument that he plays. Beautiful nature music and stuff like that. And then he came out with this balls to the wall electronic piece that just floored me. That was awesome. So it's great to hear. Please check out Mike Gorley if you haven't already. Milan Goodvik, great music and great music videos. Can't say enough about the music there. And most recently, thank you for the kind words. Okay, let me try this. Shameskits, I believe is how it's pronounced. Something like that. SHAMESTKITZ. It's word. The tag will be in the description so you can check out the music there. But Shameskits has successfully made some great bird sounds in VCV Rack, so you really got to check that out. But in any case, enough with the shout outs. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing this time around. Synth ASMR Prickles, acupuncture for your mind. Okay, so as of sound experiment for RMS number 10, this is what the big old patch looks like. I have gone over other parts of this in previous videos, so what we'll be focusing on is this upper part here that does the synth ASMR. Although, you know, overall the lay of the land is this is the mix section with the compressors from Squinky Labs, the parametric EQ from MindMeld, which goes with the MindMeld 16-channel mixer, and the aux send expander, which I use really just to go to reverb, and using the VCV reverb that comes with Rack 2 Pro. And here is just a compressor from MSC Hack on the way out. It's kind of like I'm using it almost like a limiter at the end. And here we have the OSHA wave sounds, which I've done in a previous episode. Binaural beating, which I've done in a previous episode, but I will probably next episode talk about the additional ones. Basically, I had 4 pairs, now I have 7 pairs. And so in the upcoming episode, we'll talk about that. Here, I believe it was the last episode where I talked about the Tibetan singing bowl like harmonics and how I am achieving them with the ring sound from Audible Instruments. That's here, and as of episode 10 or Sound Experience 10, it is polyphonic. And that's why I have so many of them here. 4-voice polyphony, so it's like almost like a small chorus of, you know, harmonics from kind of like Tibetan singing bowls, but since it gets to be a little bit more melodic than that, it's kind of like maybe achieving a similar effect, but would not normally be done on those instruments unless you had a bunch of them and people timing things just right. And then here is the synth ASMR. So I am going to at least let you hear it, how it appears in the experience. And then I'm going to take you to another patch and we're just going to build it together. All right, turn up the master. By the way, that's the soft noise I use. This is the new 7 pairs of binaural beating. When I have the reverb on, you don't hear the beating. It's reverb over here. And when I have them basically down and like in just the right levels, they just sound like harmonics. But it's a beautiful sound, these 7, the way I laid them out. So next time I'm going to talk about the frequencies I used and everything. But of course, if you turn off the reverb and stick one out, if you're using headphones, you can hear the binaural beating. If you're not, you probably hear beating of some kind, but for these sound experiences, you need to use headphones to get the full benefit of them. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. The synth ASMR is right here. Now the idea is this applies high frequency sounds, almost like high frequency tingling to the ears to stimulate a meridian response, which aids in relaxation and just a pleasurable sensation. ASMR artists that use voice and whispering, the good ones are trying to achieve something like this, and still not be like some are just, I have to simply say, are just not good at it. And you just hear saliva crackling and it's like, no, I can't do that. But there is such a thing as synth ASMR, where you use synthesized sounds like this to achieve that state. Now that in and of itself may stand out too much. So mixed in with OSHA waves, maybe some soft noise here. and harmonics. At lower levels, you get the right mix, you're good. All right. So what I'm going to do here is, I think it's, I'm going to have to zoom in and see here. Here it is. All right, so we're going to look at this synth ASMR stuff, or the way I do it, the Prickles, and just talk about it a little bit. First of all, the sound is from Audible Instruments. It's a free module in the community library of VCV Rack. Incidentally, if you're new to VCV Rack and wondering what's going on here, I do have a series on that. Learn synthesis with VCV Rack. Also, previous episodes in this series could also be helpful to you about some of the other sound techniques. But if we take like our pitch, I like yellow. Sorry. I like to do yellow for that. There we go. Our pitch here. So when I play a note on the MIDI keyboard, it'll play a note using this sound. Well, you'll see in a moment. It kind of gives a pitch area, but not an all-out note. I'm going to hook this up to the mixer here, and I'm going to use this envelope generator, the VCV ADSR, here, so that I can basically turn the note on and off. Kind of a nice ability to have. Now, eventually I'm going to be using these stereo, so I'm going to take the output from the audio channel itself to go here. So I can use the second one here when we want left, right. Okay, so I'm going to press a middle C. That's what we get. I'm going to press a C 2 octaves above that. That's what we get there. Now I'm going to press a C that's 2 octaves above that. And that's what we get. That's more in the range that I want to be. Okay. Now the way I do these, I just released the key. It didn't release. What the heck? I am on gate here. Oh, the gate only governs the main out. There we go. There we go. Yep. That's the brain fart there. Okay, so anyway, now, how do I use these? Well, I don't trigger with MIDI in that patch, that big monster patch. I pretty much mix real time. I'm just using this here now just so I can turn it on and off more easily. But if you wanted to use MIDI to trigger this stuff, then I am eventually going to take all these different techniques as groups and use them with my DAW using the Rack 2 Pro VST functionality, so that I could basically use Bitwig Studio to basically compose the entire thing. Because right now what I do is basically perform it real time, and if I make a mistake, like last week I made a mistake like after 45 minutes, so I had to start all over again. That can get frustrating. So okay, so anyway, let's see here. What am I doing? All right, so it begins with the clock here. We need to give a tempo to our envelope generator. The clock is from MSC Hack, and the envelope generator is from MSC Hack. It actually is 8 envelopes in one. Well, in one module. So looks like I have a purple cable that I use for color coding clock signals already hooked up. Going from the clock out here on this clock generator, one of the clock outs, there's 4 for each division. You could set these to different divisions of your overall BPM. Right now it's set to 120. And since the division here is 1, we're basically getting a 120 beats per minute pulse here. You see that racing across the screen there. It's racing across the whole region here 2 times per second, basically. And so the clock is hooked up. We're good with that. Now, you can make divisions of that here. You can slow it down to half speed. You can do all sorts of things. But here is where I prefer to do it. I basically go here 1 bar, and that slows it down for me to a point where I felt like it was pretty good. And then I use basically this first one here. See, this is a second screen. I'll show you in a minute. Like, let me just draw in some stuff here. Just click some points in. I want them up higher though, you know, because I want that higher frequency range. There we go. So I just click some random ones in. Now if I tap 2 here, you see it's a brand new. It's even at a different speed. It's at the original 120 beats per minute. 1 beat goes through the whole thing. All right. So here we go. That's basically what I use for the pitch control on Prickles. So it looks like, okay, I got to release that one. And then there we go. Put it on pitch. Alrighty. Now if I hold down a key, there you go. Now there's other aspects to the sound here that can be controlled. There is timbre, which in this sound, I mean, since the macro oscillator from Audible Instruments has so many different sounds on it that you select using this dial, each sound, the timbre and color knobs might do something different. And here it's not really timbre, it kind of just slows down to Prickles. But this is the slower range that I want, something between this and this. So what I did is I said, okay, let's control timbre using another envelope here. The second one. And on the second one, what I did is I just said, give me one of these presets. Let me try it out. And I ended up with a sine wave like that. And then down here, it may say bar here, but each time you go to a new envelope, you got to re-click it. Okay, so now we're on envelope 2. I had to click this here to get it to slow down. So now, if I hold down a key on the keyboard, it'll just basically turn the envelope on so we can hear the sound. The pitch is being controlled by the first envelope here. And now the timbre is being controlled by the second one. Now I like it to be kind of like a slow spaced out thing. So I keep this down here. Basically I move this knob, which is kind of like an attenuation knob for the timbre effect, to the minimum, and this to the maximum. And something like that seems to work out pretty well. The sound overall is pretty low. I do have it going through a compressor in the mix section, so it can be a little more prominent. But you see, it speeds up and slows down. Since timbre, in this case, isn't really timbre, it's the speed of the Prickles. It speeds up and slows down. At this point, it seems to be slower. And then when we go down here, it should speed up a little bit. Yep, especially towards the bottom there a little bit. Now, if you think that's a little too much, and I might be prone to think so, I just turn this knob down a bit so we get between here and here as our range, which basically means the speed of the Prickles. Or the spacing might be a better way of saying it. Okay. You know what? I'm probably, since we're gonna, okay, now let's do one more thing. The third parameter is for timbre. No, we did timbre, even though it wasn't really timbre. It's the color knob. And so on that one, what I did is I just tried another preset. I went to the third one here, and I went to preset of kind of like a cosine wave. Kind of inverted. Basically sine wave in a different phase relationship. Okay. So now you see I slowed it down again by hitting that 1 bar selection. And this you see kind of actually does give you a bit of a tone color change. It's harder to hear because sometimes it's really spaced out, but like here it's a little bit deeper. There a little bit higher. So basically I have it adjusting this, but right now since I have it hooked up, my knob changes are basically being overwritten by this. See, it's kind of like lower in kind of like frequency bias or equalization, and then it gets higher. There. It's not really pitch changing, it's just kind of like frequency range changes. And since the data is being inputted here, when I move this, it's not a huge difference. Okay, so I'm going to release the key, and then what I'm going to do is I was originally going to use this mixer to go to these 2 channels here, but it looks like it ain't going to work. So I am going to use 2 VCAs, especially since I'm not going to use the keyboard anymore. Now that I introduce things, we'll just have one for left, one for right. So we hook up the audio outputs from these 2 macro oscillators to left and right there. And then the gate out from the gate can go to both. To hook up the second one, just go from like green for gate, go from destination back to source. All right, and then I accidentally deleted the audio out module. And since I just created it again, I gotta select my audio settings. All right, and then we go here. I just press a key on the keyboard. Oh, somebody's low in pitch. Yeah, because I just added this one without doing any of this enveloping. So what I did is for the next one, you see how it's timbre is sine and the color is inverse cosine. Well, I just went to 4, and since that's pitch like 1 there for the right side, I just tapped around up here in the frequency range I like it to be in. Although I did put a little more care into it than I'm doing now. Yeah. All right, that's good enough for the explanation. Hook that up to pitch and make sure we're on bar here. Slow this guy down. Sometimes you got to click it off that and put it back on. All right, and then we go to 5 and 6, and this is where I just reversed them this time. I'm going to use the timbre. I'm calling it timbre, but it's not timbre for the Prickles. And I use that over here, and basically didn't I hook up the pitch? Yeah, I hooked it up to the wrong one. I hooked it up to trigger instead of pitch. There we go. So roughly about the same. That's close enough. And then here we go. Let's take our color. And instead of being a cosine or inverse cosine, it's going to be a sine shape this time. So left to right sides, their timbre changes are a little bit different. Their timbre and color changes, or speed, or whatever you want to call it, are a little bit different. So they're not mimicking each other or mirroring each other. Now, it is kind of quiet. I'll jack it up here a little bit. But really what helps make it more effective is also putting reverb on it. It blends it into the rest of the thing. So I can just throw the reverb on here. And typically in these sessions, I've been using the synth ASMR towards the end. These prickles come, well, maybe not so much towards the end, but in the middle, after the ocean waves kind of subside and there's soft noise and binaural beating, I have this here. Now here the mix is all the way up. There we go. I do it differently since I'm using an aux send on the mixer in the patch for the actual sound experiences themselves. There's no mix knob. Well, there is, but the aux send controls the amount of reverb. So there we go. That's the Synth ASMR Prickles. If I release a key, it stops. I could take a screenshot of it for the thumbnail. So anyway, folks, that's how I do it. Please give me your thoughts. How do you like this within the programs? You actually have to hear them first. I think that this has been included somewhere in each of them since, I think it's 5. Experiment number 5. Any of them that says, I mean, before I think I said ASMR tones because they were kind of different. This is more like what ASMR really strives to do. And I just mix it in there because for me, heavy ASMR just doesn't do the trick, man. It's got to be like a distant sound almost and blended with other things. All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining me. Until next time, take care and stay free.